I'm William West Hopper, and I'm very lucky to have handwritten information from my mother's aunt. So my mother, who was born in 1919, was always under the impression that her parents had both died in the 1918-1919 flu, as she was raised by her grandmother, and later on 2 old maid aunts and 2 uncles. It wasn't until one of the uncles died in 1939 that she found out he was actually her father. There was always a hole in my mother's life, not knowing who her mother was. So through Ancestry, I've been very lucky to be able to find Helen, my grandmother. Turns out that William, my grandfather, who I am named after, and Helen were divorced in 1919, not long after my mother was born. Helen went on to marry a wealthy businessman in Baltimore. My mother kept a very close eye on the remaining uncle, Uncle Chauncey, and we used to drive down to Baltimore from Philadelphia almost every other week to visit with him. And turns out during that time, Helen lived about 2 blocks away from where Chauncey did, and we would go by Helen's house. Helen died in 1963. So the story that I'm interested in finding out more about through the 1950 census is Helen. So continuing the story, let's find out more about Helen, where Helen lived, about Helen's husband, about my mother, and of course about my father's family too, which is interesting because I've gotten to know my half-sister through Ancestry. So thank you for listening to my story about my family on both sides. To me, it's kind of interesting, and I've really enjoyed putting the pieces of this family puzzle together, finding some of the stories that kind of made me smile and some that didn't.